Good morning, students. Here comes our second traveler, Ibn Battuta. Now the question arises, with which purpose did the people travel? What were the objectives for people to travel? The people used to travel, firstly, in search of work. Secondly, to escape from natural disasters. Thirdly, to satisfy the sense of adventure. And lastly, with multi-purpose objectives as traders, merchants, soldiers, priests and pilgrims. Ibn Battuta. Now let us talk about him. Ibn Battuta loved traveling. He went to far off places to explore new worlds and people. He considered experience gained through travels to be a more important source of knowledge than the books. Here we will study from 1325 to 1354 the travels of Ibn Battuta. Ibn Battuta was ordered by Muhammad bin Tughlaq in 1342 to proceed to China as the Sultan's envoy to the Mongol rulers. He went to the Malabar coast through central India, then to the Maldives. He stayed there for 18 months. Then he went to Sri Lanka and back to Malabar and Maldives. Then he resumed his mission to China. He returned to home in 1347. His accounts are compared to that of Marco Polo, who has also visited China and India. He has recorded his observation of people, culture, beliefs and values. He also noted that traveling from one place to other took a long time and was insecure. He spent several years traveling through North Africa, West Asia and Central Asia, India and China. His stories were recorded. This is the map which Ibn Battuta took, that is his routes. Ibn Battuta, an early globetrotter. He was an African traveler who came from Morocco. Born in Tangier, he learned literature and other scholarly works at his young age. He considered that knowledge gained through travels is more important source than books. He loved traveling and went off far off places, exploring new worlds and people. Before his visit to India, he had made pilgrimage to Mecca and travelled extensively in Syria, Iraq, Persia, Yemen, Oman and a few trading ports on the coast of East Africa. Ibn Battuta and the excitement of the unfamiliar. Ibn Battuta set off his travel to India in 1332-33 and reached Sindh in 1333. He was able to get the reputation of the Sultan of Delhi, Muhammad bin Tughlaq. The Sultan was impressed by the scholarship of Ibn Battuta and appointed him as the Qazi or judge of Delhi. He remained judge for many years. The Sultan appointed him as his ambassador to China. During his journey to China, he also visited Malabar coast, Maldives, Bengal, Assam and Sumatra. Now children, let us talk about his book Rihla. Ibn Battuta's book of travels called Rihla was written in Arabic and it provides the social and cultural life in the subcontinent in the 14th century. In his book, he has written that not only male slaves but the Sultan also employed female slaves to keep a watch on his nobles. to keep a watch on his nobles. Ibn Battuta's book, he delineated a beautiful picture of his experiences that he had gathered during his various visits and travels. From his book, we come to know a lot about various aspects of social values and new cultures. He carefully recorded his observations about new cultures, people, belief, values, etc. The coconut and the pan. The best example of Ibn Battuta's strategies of representation are clear in the ways in which he described the coconut and the pan, two kinds of plant produced that were completely unfamiliar to his audience. Plants found in India which amazed Ibn Battuta. Firstly, coconut. He wrote that the nuts of coconut resemble a man's head. Secondly, pan. He wrote about pan that the beetle has no fruit and is grown only for the sake of its leaves. Ibn Battuta and the Indian cities. Ibn Battuta found cities in the subcontinent full of exciting opportunities for those who are able and have resources and skills. The cities were densely populated and were prosperous. Cities were disrupted during wars and invasions. His account said that streets in many cities were crowded and bright and colorful markets were full of many varieties of goods. He described Delhi as a vast city with a great population, the largest in India. Bazaars were not only places of economic transaction, but also the hub of social and cultural activities. Many bazaars had mosque and temple with spaces for public performances by dancers and singers. Ibn Battuta noted that the cities obtained its wealth from villages. This was because of the agricultural production with 2 crops a year. He said that there was a great demand for Indian textiles like cotton cloth, fine muslins, silks, brocade and satin. He further said that certain varieties of fine muslin were so expensive that could be worn only by the nobles and the very rich. Ibn Battuta in Indian cities. Cities were full of exciting opportunities, densely populated and prosperous, crowded streets with bright and colorful markets, bazaars were hub of social and cultural activities, had mosques and temples, public performances. He found Indian agriculture very productive. India was well integrated with inter-Asian network of trade and commerce. It was rich in textiles, silk, muslin, satin and were in demand. A unique system of communication. Almost all trade routes were well supplied with inns and guest houses. Ibn Battuta was amazed by the efficiency of the Indian postal system. Here he mentions the postal system of 2 kinds. One was uluk. Uluk was the horse post, and the other was dawa, which was foot post. This system enabled merchants to send information, remit credit across long distances, and to dispatch goods required at short notice. He noticed that the state took special steps to encourage merchants. Inns and rest houses were built on almost all the trading routes. Ibn Battuta was amazed by observing the postal system. Merchants were not only able to send information to a long distance, but also to dispatch goods required at short notice. Postal system was so efficient that while it took 50 days for traders to reach Delhi from Sindh, but the news reports of spies would reach the king in only 5 days.